The Amazing Atheist recently posted a video entitled God is Real. The title is somewhat longer than that, but I do not presently have the internet connection required to actually verify the whole thing. In reaction to several claims made by Christian user shockofgod in his own video entitled More Proof Christianity is True, Why I Left Atheism to Its Unicorns. Once again, there should be a comma there. The Amazing Atheist's video is 30 minutes long, so I shan't bore you all with running chronologically through it to cite the problems, and I'll just instead mediate the video in general. In it, the Amazing Atheist analyzes a number of claims made by shockofgod in efforts to refute atheism and prove the Christian God. In general, evidence is presented, albeit briefly and largely in screenshots for the most part, when the Amazing Atheist is presenting his evidence and counter-arguments, but also in the video when he is directly citing shockofgod. The Amazing Atheist makes repeated violations of Tip 6, using sarcasm, insulting language, and visual humour towards the opposition. These violations are so numerous that I've pretty much overlooked them herein, but rest assured they are many. As Tip 6 is not defined as a full-blown tip, however, this does not inherently detract from his arguments. It merely reduces the appearance of them as they are presented, and biases the opposition's response to them. After some initial meandering, the fine-tuning theory is presented by opponent shockofgod. The Amazing Atheist describes in some detail a counter-argument for fine-tuning, to which shockofgod has yet to react, but the importance here is that the Amazing Atheist has presented a counter-argument that, whilst offensive and lacking in actual presented evidence, is a reasonable problem with Shock's argument. Shock's second point presented is the Big Bang as a deific event, to which he ostensibly presents a 12-year-old child as evidence. The Amazing Atheist counters with the work of Stephen Hawking, a renowned theoretical physicist and, just renowned physicist, I suppose, really, and the progressive work of science to find the accurate conclusion, but between additional insults does not actually provide a refutation of Shock's arguments, or even a counter-argument of any form. Shock's third point is the atheism cannot discern how complexity arose from simplicity issue. The Amazing Atheist responds, properly, with the counter-argument that Shock cannot explain it either, and nor can, presently, all of humanity. In debating terms, this is the argument of uncertainty, that neither side has enough evidence to provide a reasonable argument, wherein Shock is claiming that there is one. Shock then goes on to make the claim that 90% of the global population believes in God. The Amazing Atheist does refute this claim using census figures pertaining to the CIA that shows a spread of percentages for belief in a large variety of gods, but incorrectly declares this as a refutation of global belief in gods, just that the 90% value cited is inaccurate as non-religious individuals and atheists alone make up the 14%. Shock claims that if objective morality exists, then it is evidence of God. The Amazing Atheist pulls a Tip 2 violation by pulling out historical atrocities associated with religious belief, but also presents the works of Sam Harris as a scientific approach to objective morality bereft of religious belief. Shock makes the claim, continuing, that the evidence exists of Jesus Christ's existence, though he does not actually present it. The Amazing Atheist agrees that Jesus Christ probably did exist, but asserts the accuracy of biblical testimony to him is potentially inaccurate based on the 60 to 100 year gap between Christ's demise and the writings about him. Shock then uses the fervour of belief of Christian disciples as evidence for the reality of Christian beliefs. The Amazing Atheist does make insults once again, but he very carefully navigates yet another Tip 2 violation when he offers historical examples of mass suicide due to religious belief, such as Jamestown. He correctly makes the assumption that this is not evidence of the reality of their beliefs, just what humans will do to defend them. Following on from that, Shock points out the lack of willingness for atheists to die for their lack of belief. But again, this is not evidence against atheism or even in favour of Christianity or religion in general. The Amazing Atheist points to the separation of what Christians believe will happen after their death versus what atheists will believe, as reasoning that separates their decision to either die or renounce their beliefs. Atheists have none to renounce. Shock states that science proves God. The Amazing Atheist points to a high population of atheists in scientific pursuits, clearly specifying that this is not proof of atheism, but rather questions why, if God is in fact evidenced by scientific inquiry, why scientists are not instead predominantly religious. The Shock then declares that atheism contradicts itself, misrepresenting atheism in manners I have previously discussed in the Meaning of Atheism video, and asks for just one atrocity that the biblical God has been responsible for. Bearing in mind there is generally little evidence for these events historically, The Amazing Atheist presents 6 different atrocities with proper citation and reasoning from the Bible itself. Foreseeing the presentation of Sodom and Gomorrah, Shock counters by declaring that the towns were overrun with criminal activity and therefore God was justified in destroying them. However, The Amazing Atheist counters again by pondering if every single man, woman and child in the cities was responsible for such sin. In all, the largest mediation point against The Amazing Atheist video is his almost persistent violations of our supplementary tip 6, by insulting Shock of God and being extremely sarcastic and very vocal, shall we say. But in all, he does make a large number of good arguments, counter-arguments, and evidenced statements in opposition to Shock of God's arguments. I'm MrStarmatter, and this has been the mediation for The Amazing Atheist video God is Real, released in response to the video More Proof Christianity is True by Shock of God.